Hello, this is Nikki in Niagara, coming to you from Niagara Falls, Canada. And welcome back to my channel. And for those of you who haven't been here before, then welcome. Just click that subscribe button and you'll be able to follow what else I do. And speaking of that, I was looking at my analytics, and it said that 52% of you watching this and my other videos are subscribers. So that's fantastic. Over half of you are subscribers. But that means that there's 48% of you out there watching this and my other videos, but you haven't subscribed yet. How about right now you make the commitment and push that button, smash that subscribe button, and become one of my subscribers. I'd really like to have you with us, and the more subscribers I get now, the closer I am getting to 3K subscribers. So help me out, guys. Help me make it to 3K. So yeah, that would be great. That's a vision that I never had in my mind. But back when I got 2,000, my eldest son, was talking to him, and he says, well, when you get 3K, and I'm like, hold on, I just hit 2K. I don't think I'll ever make it to 3K. And he goes, Mom, look forward, look to the future, plan ahead. And I'm like, oh, okay. So what are we going to do today? Well, what we're going to color is, yes, Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. I'm just working on this now and decided to turn the camera on. This isn't going to be a very long color and chat because I have a lot of things on the go that I need to get ready to make a bunch of videos that I have planned coming up in the future. And well, I guess I should get coloring. I'm going to zoom in with the editing software so that we're just kind of zoomed in on what I'm coloring here, so you can see how horrible I am with coloring with gel pens. So I have to say I'm not doing too bad of a job. Usually I leave lots of white spaces, but well, I'm doing pretty good today. Or yeah, today I started this morning. It is 2:38 in the afternoon, and I am not in a very happy mood because my internet has been down for about an hour, and it's only on my computer. My son's internet is working just fine, but here in my room, the internet is not working. I'm not even getting very good. It's off and on my tablet, so I don't know. Somehow I'm just not getting the signal here. It used to happen quite often that the internet connection would go off and on, but that hasn't happened in a long time. Maybe when I'm done doing this color and chat here. I'm kind of covering up, aren't I? I'm trying to not rub my hand in that, as well as let you be able to see what I'm doing. Sorry, this is the best I can do at the moment. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, when I'm finished, let's turn a bit. I think I can color better this way. So yeah, well, I'm gonna ask my son here to go reboot the. Oh, I'm using big computer words here that I don't know what they really mean. to reboot the router is, I believe, what needs to be done. That always gives the internet a bump. Or what was it called? What was it called when you're back in the olden days? I don't think people need to do it much now with the new computerized cars, but it used to be that your battery would wear out and you'd need to get a something from someone. What was that called? And you would hook some wires to each car and you would get your boost. There it is. A boost. Give me a boost. There we are. So that's what we need to do to the router, is give it a boost. And if that doesn't work, well, I don't know what to do. Hopefully it'll just come back on itself like it usually does. I have it sitting here in front of me, but I can't get to it. You know what I'm wondering? Is if I can get to the internet on my tablet. I'm just going to try that here, guys. Because one of the things that I wanted to do with you is take a look at the books that I've been reading. And this isn't where I want to be. I want to be Kindle, is tell you what I've been reading lately. Because I haven't told you anything I've read for quite a while, so just want to see. Okay, so that puts me to where I am. Now, will it load in? This is how we'll know if it's connected or not. I'll just put it over there and see if it connects. So, yeah, we're going to do a tag here. I was tagged by, let me see, I've got my little note. Yes. Okay, so it is the Coloring Happy Hour 2021 tag. And this was started by Coloring with Candace. And I was tagged by two people. Another little piece of my art and Jamie's Coloring Love. They both tagged me in this. So I better get a move on and do it. So I thought we would do it for this one. So yeah, my tablet's not going in, so connecting, so we won't be able to do books I've read because I can't remember what books I've read. I can tell you what I am reading, so I'll tell you about the book I am reading right now. And then we'll do the tag. So what I'm reading right now is called Hidden Valley Road, and it is a true story. And it is about a family who eventually moved to a house on Hidden Valley Road, which they were the first people to move out onto this street, and it was to become, they were at the end, and it was kind of to become a street where the houses were hidden from the road, and you had acreages, a couple of acreages to your home, so you were out in the boonies, and this family had the forest and the fields and the, I don't know, they said like cliffs and stuff right behind their backyard, so their children got to explore a lot there. But that's not the basis of the story. Is that altogether this family had 12 children, and out of those 12, 5 of them were diagnosed as schizophrenic eventually. Eventually 5 of them. So that's what this book is about. It's a prime example of a study of a large group of people who have the same you know, they're connected by blood, and they grew up in the same place. So the nature versus nurture fact can be put to this family to test that and to see what was going on. Fortunately, after a while, the family became quite dysfunctional. And I'm at the part now where we're starting to think, is this the parents' fault? Could they have done this, that, or the other, or not made such and such a decisions? Would it have made a difference? But then you think, well, all the children experienced the same, had to live with the choices that the parents made. And the majority of them, just a slight majority, because you've got 5 out of 12, which leaves 7 left. So yeah, it's a decent majority. Didn't. But they did experience, what's the word? Dysfunction. They were experiencing part of the dysfunction. So I'm right into the middle of that, but I'm only like 20% of the way into the book, and I feel like I've been reading forever when I read it, and I'm like so engrossed in it, but it doesn't get me ahead too far. It must, like, I'm reading it on my Kindle, but if I saw the real book, it must be quite the doorstep. Okay, so now what color would be good for the background for this space? I've got blue there and black there, so I don't want this color because that's the color of the flower. Black is the color of these. Yellow could work, but I'm trying to leave it for the center of the flowers and the stars. Blue, that's too much. Red is close there. I don't know, do I want to go on making blue the main part quite often? No, it's time for a different color. I'm not putting yellow. Let's do blue. It seems to be working out the best. Because then, once I've got the background blue, then I'll do this little design here and we'll figure out what colors it needs to be. So yeah, we've gotten a bit of a discussion on what was happening in the 50s and the 60s and eventually up to the 70s, what was happening in medicine as regards to schizophrenia. And really, this is the timeline when progress was starting to be made. I believe they said it was 1962 that Kennedy enacted an act, I guess it's called, I think it's called, that improved mental health facilities so that they couldn't just be dumping grounds. They couldn't be humongous places where the patients just ran wild and naked doing whatever they wanted. And they had to actually be staffed by real certified staff. Now that took quite a while before that came into effect. And this was the time period when drugs were just starting to be invented. I believe it's Thorazine was the very first drug that was given to people with extreme mental problems to help calm them down, rather than what used to be done was restraint and other brutal practices. And so they've just gotten to the part where the eldest son, who grew up being like the star quarterback, never had very good grades, but he was like a pride and joy of the family and even of the town. So he is the first one who ends up with very extreme behavior and becomes a danger to both himself and others. So that's where I am in it. And I'm just finding out about a little bit more of the dysfunction that was going on with the two youngest, who happened to be girls. Because they were all boys. They had 10 boys and 2 girls. So, yeah, that's a really good book if you're interested in that kind of thing. I mean, it talks about their lives, too. It's a biography of the family just as much as it is a biography of the mental illness in the family. So, if you like that type of thing, it's a very, very good book. I'm reading it. Usually I just read when I go to bed. Well, sorry, not when I go to bed, when I get up in the morning. I sit down with my coffee and I make that my reading time. It used to be my coloring time, but it's turned into my reading time. And I'm doing really well with that, consistently reading. So, let's get on to the tag. 5 things I like about coloring. Well, number 1 is that it turns off my brain. I'm going to take a sip of pop. Excuse me. I think that went down the wrong way, as they say. Yeah, so I have one of those brains that never turns off. Now, I don't know if that's because of one of my mental issues, or if it's just because I'm Asperger's, or if it's not for any of those reasons. It's just the way I am. But yeah, my brain is always 2 steps ahead of what I'm doing. And when I'm like, I can't sit still. If I'm sat somewhere and I don't have something in my hands, then I will be reading everything around me. I'll be reading labels on things. I'll be reading signs. I'll be, picking up cleaning ingredients and reading their labels, picking up ornaments and reading what it says on the bottom. Wherever I am, I'll find something to read because my brain can't stop. So one thing coloring does is that it stops my brain, except for when I'm coloring on when I'm doing coloring chat. Because then I have to turn my brain on so that I can speak coherently. Though the judge is probably still out on whether it's coherent or not. But, yeah, so along with turning the brain off, it also obviously relaxes and calms me. I don't have any form of ODD, I don't have any form of ADD or ADHD. I don't have any of those at all. But I do have OCD. As my doctors claim that I've been diagnosed with it, but I refuse to take any medication for it because I don't believe that I am OCD. I think that it's just the obsessive-compulsive part of Asperger's showing itself in me, and I'm more obsessive than I am compulsive anyways. But having the ODD, it definitely does help to calm me down. Okay, we'll go in with some red here for those. No, yellow. It's starting to get dark over there. So when I color, I think we all know it. You get into the zone, and it's just kind of your calm and quiet place where it's still. At least that's what it is for me. Everything is still. And that means where I am and what I'm doing is not noisy, but also in my brain it's quiet. And that's a very, before I started coloring, having my brain be quiet was something that I didn't ever really go through. So yeah, that's number one. It calms my brain and it stops my brain from all its activity, or like extra activity. Doesn't make me comatose, but you know what I mean. So the second thing is that it's something that I can do on my bad days. When I have a bad pain day or just a bad mental day, I can color. There's a lot of other things that I can't do. If my brain is going too fast, I can't read. I'll just end up reading the same sentence over and over and over until I get frustrated. That's mainly my only other hobby that I do. And like I said, well, like I can't watch television or like streaming stuff. I only watch my computer for let's call it TV viewing, even though I don't watch TV and I don't watch in the TV manner. Like I don't watch shows when it's their regularly scheduled airtime. I always watch them after they've aired. Okay, well okay, I've got some greenery in here. So I can't watch TV, I can't read. Those are the two other things that I would do. So yeah. So that's the second thing, is that it is something I can do on a bad day. Oh, go for a walk. That's also what I can't do on bad days. And even though I'm doing pretty good these days with my hips and my back, so that they're at a point where I'm not able to walk unassisted, but I am able to walk without the walker. So I'm just using my cane right now, and hopefully I can't walk very far, but I can walk a little bit further than I used to before I need to stop and have a break. So yeah, being able to go out, though going out is not really an option much these days. On April 2nd, my province, the whole entire province, went onto lockdown. So everything's been shut down again. Everything that was allowed to open has now been closed. So the only things that are open are essential places. Though I do think they're allowing retail stores to open at 25% capacity, and that includes staff. So the stores are deciding themselves whether it's worth it or not. I'm going to have to go see if Michael's is open or not, because last week I was talking about being able to get over there, but we didn't, because I don't leave the house right now. I've reverted back into my hermit stage where I don't like to leave the house. For the only time I leave the house is every other week to go to my pain appointment, and then on that day, if I'm up to it, I go around and get to go to a few other stores. But you know, it's not any big deal to me. It's you know, what I like. What were we even talking about? Okay, whatever we were talking about, I'm done with. So the other thing is that I'm a collector, and I've collected all sorts of doodads and geegaws and, you know, what have you. But I have always been a book collector ever since well, I can remember at 5 years old that I wanted to turn my books into, well, I don't remember what it was I actually wanted to do, but I took all my books that had little stories in them, you know, like if they were books that had different stories in them, or, you know, I had a couple of those 365 bedtime story books, and I tore out the pages and I made little piles with them, and I was stapling them together. They were all laid out, little piles were all laid out on my bed, and I was stapling them together to make new books out of them. And my mom came into the room. Oh boy, was she livid. Oh, she just screeched and was like, "What are you doing? These books are precious." And oh, she just couldn't believe that I'd torn up books. It was like, and then my dad too. He wasn't as mad as my mom was, but yeah, I got a good talking to for that. I can't remember if I got a spanking, but yeah, I was taught not to tear up books again. And then later, when I got into teenagehood, I had a huge collection of horror books, and gee, I wish that I could get some of those books back again, because when I go to bookstores and look at the horror section, it's all stuff from the last 20, 30 years. I want to go back to the books from the 80s that were often stories of movies that they put out. Like, I remember this one, and I believe it was called Legacy. There was a book called Legacy, but I'm not sure if it's the one I was thinking of. But the cover had a picture of a white cat's head, and attached to the head on the bottom half of it were tentacles, and it was floating in the water. And I remember really liking that. Oh, and there was another one called Burnt Offerings. That was a movie with Melissa Sue Anderson, who's Mary from the Little House on the Prairie. She was in that movie. And there was a book of it called Burnt Offerings. I had that. I really liked those old 80s horror books. Excuse me. I just had to have another sip. And what color should we do the inside of this? What was I doing red? Those aren't red. No, I just did those pink. Okay, well, let's do the inside of this one red. So I've always been a book collector. When I homeschooled, I collected children's books and history books. And I've always had a collection of books I don't collect them anymore because I don't collect physical books that you can read anymore. But I had a good collection of psychological, like, well, books that took place in sanitariums, like olden days, what they called them lunatic asylums back then. So, you know, the before the turn of the 20th century and back into the 1700s, I love reading books, especially if they're mysteries or thrillers that take place in or around the asylum, psychiatric asylum of those days. Excuse me. I always get a hoarse throat when I am doing one of these color and talks, and I guess it's because I don't usually talk this much in a row, because I don't talk a lot during the day. And when my husband's at work, when Mr. Niagara's at work, he works different shifts, so, you know, sometimes it feels like he's gone all day because he'll leave before noon and he comes back, you know, like an hour or so before bedtime. And then sometimes it's just he's gone all night because he'll leave in the middle of the afternoon and not come back until 11:30. So, and my son is at school for part of that, and for the other part, he's just like me and he's not a talker. Like he's definitely not a low functioning autistic person, because he does speak, and he is quite intelligent in being able to figure some things out on his own. So I don't know if there's a name for the medium functioning, because he's not low and he's not high. He's just right in the middle. Bless him. And so yeah, being a colorist allows me to be a coloring book collector. So now my shelves have been taken over. Well, I've got new shelves, actually, and they've been taken over by my coloring books, which you'll get to see when I do my studio tour, because that will be coming up. That's one of those things that I'm working on. I keep forgetting that I'm doing this tag, but it's giving me things to talk about. Alright, the third thing I said is that it's not messy. I've mentioned, I guess probably many times, that I was way big into mixed media, and I have some of that stuff on this channel. If you go way back, you'll find the mixed media. If you follow the hauls all the way back, they'll start doing mixed media books. But I just got to a point where I didn't like getting messy. And coloring isn't messy. You can make it messy by getting into the mixed media part of it. And I kind of want to, but every time I try to go into mixed media with my coloring, and by mixed media I mean paint and that sort of thing. I used to do like messy collage. I don't like the neat and tidy, scrapbooking type of collage. I liked the more messy and the throwing paint around and using stencils. Basically, I was a stencil artist. I didn't make them, but I used them. And I just got to a point where all of a sudden I hated the mess. I guess it was probably at the point when I seriously became, started to have fibromyalgia, is probably when it started, now that I think about it. And it was just too much for me to get out all my stuff, work with them and make a mess, and then be happy with the art that I created, but then have to clean everything up, and clean your supplies, clean the table, clean myself. And I started to dread it. And when I came back, when I got out my coloring books and I went back into coloring, it just seemed like such a moment, big sigh of relief and calmness surrounded me. And yeah, so I've been hooked ever since. Now, I forgot some yellow dots. This part's pretty big. So yeah, it's not messy. And number 4, we're only on 4. I have to do 5, guys. So 4 is that it's the colors. I like color. I like all the colors. There's no color that I don't like. If somebody asks me my favorite color, I always say all of them, because once I start saying one, I'm like, oh, well, no, I like this, and I like this, but, I can't forget this. I can't stop telling you what my favorite color is. In case you're wondering, my favorite color sequence always starts with lime green or chartreuse. It has to be a good green chartreuse, though. Some chartreuses are too yellow. So, yeah, that's where it starts. And then I say, well, I can't forget red. And then I say, well, I can't forget turquoise. Oh, because I just absolutely love turquoise. It can be a green turquoise, it can be a blue turquoise, you can call it teal, you can call it aqua. I call it turquoise, and it involves all of those colors. I love those. And when I think back to all the hobbies that I have done in the past, they've all involved color. I used to knit and crochet. I used to quilt. And when I quilted, I liked doing scrap quilting. And actually, one of my favorite things to do, knitting and crocheting, was to make scrap afghans or blankets. And what else did I used to do? Oh, you name it, I did it. I did all the crafts as they came along and became popular. I did punch embroidery, I think it was called. Oh, and I did embroidery. I did crewel work with the yarn, and I did cross stitch. I made some really nice things for cross stitch. But I don't have any of them, because one of the things with my crafting is I always give it away. And that's something about the coloring too. I don't have any of the things that I knit. I have a few crocheted afghans, because you can only give people afghans so many times before they're like, no more afghans, please. And the same with doilies. Oh my goodness. I went through a thing where I was just absolutely all about doilies, and my family, when they saw me coming, would start running for the hills. No, I don't need another doily, thank you. They didn't know what to do with them in the first place. Nobody uses doilies anymore. Oh, so yeah, it was all for color, except for the doily stage. That was all about being white or cream. I did do some colored ones, but I loved the cream ones the best. So the colors. And the 5th one is something that I think pretty much everybody is saying to the answer to this question is, it's not why I color or anything like the other ones were, but it's, if you color and you're heavily into YouTube or social media, you will eventually find yourself in the coloring community. And you will find that it is a wonderful, welcoming, inclusive, is that the word that I want? No. I think it's inclusive. That means that it just accepts everybody, and nobody feels like they're less popular than anybody else, because the big people who when you first come in, you find certain people and you think of them as the big people, you know, the famous people of the coloring community. Once you're in, they talk to you and everything is like down to earth. There really aren't famous colorists. There's the ones who've been around for a long time and have like become mainstays in the community. But nobody thinks they're better than anybody else. And it's just a really welcoming community. I can't express that enough. If you've belonged to other communities, you'll know what I mean when you get into this coloring community. It is totally different than the others. I've been in a lot of communities online, and yes, some of them have been very friendly and I had no problem with, but I didn't realize how cliquey those groups were until I was in the coloring community, and I never felt like I belonged to any of the other ones either. It was always, I always felt like I was on the outskirts and didn't really know too many people in those communities. Didn't make any friends, that's for sure, because I'm not in contact with any of those people now. Hopefully some of them have followed me from mixed media to coloring. And I don't say I won't ever get back to it, but I know I'm going to get back to it through coloring if I can get over the making a mess stage. Yeah, so that's me having answered those questions. And that takes us, oh my goodness, it's 42 minutes. Holy cow. No wonder I'm so thirsty. Well, I need to take a sip of water, of pop here before I say my goodbyes. Let me know your opinion on the topics that I talked about today. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you have different opinions? Remember to like this video. It really does help if you give me likes. And if you're one of the 48% out there watching this video and you're not subscribed to my channel, go on and subscribe. Help me make it to 3,000 subscribers. And I thank you so much if you do. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you guys, the ones who, the people who are just new, the people who've been here for a while, and that group of people who've been with me since the beginning of my color tubing. And those who've been with me even longer. I really appreciate you. So I'm just going to say goodbye now because I start to babble. So I'm going to say goodbye. You ready? Bye!